was a long and somewhat emotional weekend of SummerSlam, and without any break, we are back at it with Monday Night Raw. Or is it Monday Night Rollins these days, Nika?
Raw is war, or war is raw.
Lots to talk about with Seth Rollins today. Seth freaking Rollins, who came out with his posse and just left everything in a wave of destruction last night. That's how we leave Raw. CM Punk, LA Knight, and Roman Reigns destroyed by this foursome. I mean, Paul Heyman's not really involved. And this was all set up with a contest of Seth Rollins and LA Knight. So more on that in a second. But Roman Reigns is left clutching those ribs. Again.
No shoes again.
This seems to become, he was also de-shoed again. Look at that. Bronson Reed with the 85 Jordans, the alternate version, the blacks with the red swoosh.
I'm sorry, you knew the year?
Oh, yeah. Those are the OGs.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, Roman Reigns has great taste in shoe apparel, apparently. And I think Bronson Reed's eBay store is open for business. I'm hearing rumors.
Oh, nice.
There's a couple pairs of shoes on there now. Maybe more to come. I don't know.
We should get a tally going.
Like Seth Rollins warned us this would happen. You know, he's been basically predicting, along with his wise man, his prognosticator over there, Paul Heyman. They have been planning this takeover of WWE, of Raw, and it got off to a smashing start last night. This epic conclusion. So we'll have to see how this plays out over the next month as we build up to the Clash in Paris. But I expect Seth Rollins will have to have some type of title defense since he didn't really wrestle in a match at SummerSlam, and he's a big name in the business. Obviously, there was storyline reasons for that.
Sure.
But this all got started with LA Knight. Because Seth Rollins came out in his beautiful red leather jacket. I mean, he must have gotten a page out of Naomi's fashion book. Am I right?
Know.
He saw how well Naomi's performed on last week's Raw, and he's like, man, I'm going to borrow a page out of that girl's book. He comes out in the red leather jacket this week, or should I call it the red leather trench coat? The red leather trench coat. But he was interrupted shortly after that by LA Knight, who came out to remind everyone, hey, you pulled a work on me in the middle of our last match in order to pull off this ruse of the century or this heist of the summer, as Seth Rollins is calling it. And I'm not happy about that, says LA Knight. Yeah. And the crowd was into it. And before you know it, Adam Pearce came out and scheduled a championship defense match for Rollins on Raw last night. So that was the main event. And this was the bookender of this week's Raw. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Seth Rollins back on the mic. He was missed during this injury absence, of course. And he is now the world heavyweight champion. And
he emerged victorious between him and the LA Knight, basically.
Yeah, well, he had his defense here, his first title defense. And as we see on the next slide, he did emerge victorious over LA Knight, as Nika said. But it was not a clean pin. And I was kind of hoping it would be to solidify Rollins. I think he needs to get a clean pin at Clash in Paris.
Okay, just to make him legit.
We need to put him over as like a legit champion. But as you can see here, he was won via disqualification, and that's because CM Punk came out towards the climax of their match on Raw, and he interfered with Seth Rollins. The match was immediately declared a disqualification, and from that point forward, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, who had been banned from being at ringside by Adam Pearce, which was why I thought they might use this match as a way to put Seth Rollins over a little bit and have him get a clean win, because there was no way in hell I thought he was losing the title last night.
Right, no.
That would have been a shock of the century. You know, if you're talking about the ruse of the century, the shock of the century would have been Seth dropping into LA Knight last night. No offense to LA Knight, yeah. However, when Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed came out and CM Punk came, that's when all hell broke loose on this. And basically we ended up with Roman Reigns being the final one to come out, but Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman and everyone getting the last laugh there, including another pair of shoes.
That's the trophy that they received.
It is. And we also got a little tension between LA Knight and CM Punk here because if CM Punk hadn't intervened, LA Knight's thinking like, hey, I'm going to win the title, bro. Yeah.
So do you think those two going to have a feud? Or
Well,
gonna...
I mean, I think they could have a match or a beef, you know, like I liked it when back in the day, The Rock and Stone Cold would have their intermittent feuds in between bigger storylines.
Sure.
They were both faces within the industry, but they didn't necessarily not do matches with each other. They weren't necessarily, you know, they could both come out and do a match and get a pop. And it was like Cody Rhodes and Cena the other day. But yeah, there's some tension there.
Okay.
And apparently Roman Reigns was involved off screen. There's some video on WWE's Twitter account. So go check that out if you haven't seen it. But in the meantime, speaking of Seth Rollins, his other half had some fun on Raw last night, Nika. Becky Lynch, probably delivering the line of the year, I would say, so far on Raw and all of WWE programming. Nikki Bella stepped up to Becky Lynch because Becky Lynch was celebrating her victory and asking
for new challengers.
And the Hall of Famer decided she would take a crack at the current Intercontinental Women's Champion. And she might be regretting that decision this morning. I don't know. She got burned here sicker than I can remember anyone getting burned on Raw in a while. And again, we see more real life
interjections
interwoven into the storylines here. The blurring of the lines by the powers that be. We'll call him Triple H for now, because I just feel like he's the ultimate decision maker. And I gotta say, before we get into what was actually said, Nikki Bella, you gotta have some thick skin to be in this game, right?
Absolutely.
Very thick skin. So what did Becky Lynch say that was so horrible, Nika? Well, Nikki Bella decided to throw some shade at Seth Rollins. And Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are, of course, a couple. And Becky Lynch knows a thing or two about Nikki Bella's past. And, of course, she and John Cena were once upon a time engaged. And she kind of said, you can't see your husband anymore. Or I don't know if they, I heard they're cordial backstage or whatever, friendly. I don't know if they have like a restraining order against each other or anything like that. However, it was definitely viewed as a sick burn. And Nikki, for her part, I think she looked a little embarrassed as the crowd was like, whoa, like that one stung a little bit. And even though you have to have thick skin to be in this game, I give her credit for going out there and taking this one. I do think she was still a bit embarrassed when it was delivered live on camera. So, this was talked about. This was fun. Nika.
I think this is the biggest moment of Raw being talked about today.
Yeah. I mean, for all the other drama that went down, this is
the most memorable.
This was a line. This was the line of the year. I'll say it again. It was a great delivery, and it plays up to something we've been talking about that we've been frustrated with, which is that Becky and Lyra and Bailey, I'll throw her in there. It was so stale, and like they just couldn't handle Becky on the mic. And so it was really nice to see someone come out there and bring out the best of Becky, because that is a line, man. So hopefully we get more of this. And if it takes a Hall of Famer to come out of retirement to do it, then so damn be it. You know, I don't mean to throw shade on Lyra or Bailey, but I just felt like Becky's in a different league than them on the mic, and they need to work on it.
Absolutely. And Becky was uncomfortable at one point too when Nikki Bella came out and they were still talking trash about Seth and all that stuff.
Yeah.
She didn't feel comfortable. She told her, you know, she took it personally a little bit, which it was part of acting, sure.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, Becky Lynch was a big part of the ruse of the century.
Yeah.
When she was posting videos of her husband on crutches, she knew it was a fake.
Yeah.
She was celebrating the fact that it was on social media when Seth Rollins cashed in during SummerSlam. It's good. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. It just leads into how these characters have to almost become an extension of their characters in their real lives and almost always play the part. It's like a whole nother level of acting.
Yeah.
It's like you assume another identity. I guess it's similar to being a rock star, maybe.
Yeah, you have to live that life.
Yeah, at least in the eyes of the public.
Yes.
And
As soon as you
how
leave the
you do it
house.
behind closed doors.
That's up to you.
It
How
is,
about-
but we're going to get into some of that in a different segment, so stay
Sure.
tuned for that. Anyways, this was fun. Becky Lynch was not done, Nika.
no.
She had a little backstage encounter after this with Natalia and Akira Tozawa, and also joining them was Maxine Dupree here in this little exchange. And Natalia seemed to be challenging Becky to a matchup. She was not happy with the shade that Becky had thrown on Nikki Bella.
Yeah.
And Natalia came to her defense here backstage, and Becky was like, okay, but I'm wrestling Maxine. And so that's apparently going down next week on Raw. We have Becky Lynch taking on Maxine Dupree, and we do also have a match with Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch, I think, happening probably at Clash in Paris, if I'm not mistaken. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Becky Lynch is going to be getting some new opponents finally, and I'm excited for that.
That's great. So they're going to feud a little bit longer, I think. They're going to give him some space to do that.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a rivalry developing / brewing here. So
That's good.
good stuff. Moving on.
Sure.
We had more women's drama last night, actually. And we had the new women's tag team champions appearing on Raw, which is unusual for them. They both are usually on SmackDown. And so I saw this happening and I was like, oh, they're coming out to do a promo. Well, it turns out they got a lot more than a promo last night, Nika. They had a whole damn title defense. The Judgment Day were none too pleased about losing their tag team titles. In fact, we saw a scene with Dom and the World Tag Team Champions, Finn Balor and JD McDonough, backstage celebrating that they still had their belts around their waist after the long weekend. And not the same for Roxanne and Raquel. They lost their titles to Charlotte and Alexa. We were happy about that. And anyways, they wanted a rematch. They got a rematch. Adam Pearce granted them a rare rematch the following day. So we get a little bit of more of these two going at it. This is their third match if you count the Evolution Fatal 4-Way tag team match, right?
Yep.
All right. So they got a lot of work out of each other. And again, I think this was just maybe more of a carryover. Like, hey, why don't we get a little extra work out of all the work we did?
Sure.
We can relate, you know? Anyways, no surprise here, I guess, Nika. The Charlotte Blissful Flair tag team retains.
Yes.
It was Alexa and Charlotte walking away, still champions. In fact, they won the exact same way, pretty much. Alexa delivering the Sister Abigail DDT on Roxanne for the victory. Same exact finisher the night before, or the 2 nights before, I should say.
So they proved they are the champions, basically.
Yeah, this was a good way to establish them firmly, solidify good word as the women's tag team champions. So kudos to them. Good stuff. I expect them to maybe move back to SmackDown though now.
Okay.
And not necessarily become regulars on Raw. The Raw women's roster is pretty crowded with talent. So we need to keep it spaced out, and they can still do singles matches on SmackDown as well.
Sure. Let's see how long they're going to reign.
Well, speaking of that crowded women's division, the newly minted women's world champion, Naomi, she's still new. I mean, it's only 4 weeks old, right?
Yeah.
She's having a rematch next week for her title. Now, she came out and cut a promo about Stephanie Velcro, she called her. It was really funny. And then we found out later that she's having a rematch with Io Sky Only on Raw next week in Quebec. Raw is heading north of the border. Nika,
Yeah.
any early predictions for this matchup?
Sure.
Sure?
I'm going with
Oh.
Naomi on this one.
Yeah, I don't see how she's going to lose the belt here. I
No, I
really
don't
just don't
either.
see it coming.
That's an early prediction. I don't think I'm going to change my mind.
Definitely early prediction. Io Sky is fine and all. And her and Rhea Ripley actually had a little spat backstage as well last night. You know, friendly rivalry, I
Sure.
guess. I'm waiting for that to turn a little bit more sinister. And I'm not suggesting either one's going to turn heel either. I don't think they would do that, especially before they're going to go to Australia and Japan in October, both. But I do think that they could get into a rivalry with each other and wrestle each other in Japan and Australia, and that would be a big draw. That would be a big ticket matchup for those events. So who knows where this will all end up, but expect Naomi to probably retain next week on Raw unless there's a huge shock.
Yeah.
And we don't know. There could be.
Could be. But right now we take Naomi.
All right. Well, one final note from Raw last night before we wrap this episode up. The El Grande Americano saga continues to evolve. And if you've been listening to our show at all, which you should be, by the way, because you would have known things like this were going to happen if you'd have been listening to our show. And we correctly called the idea that El Grande Americano, because Chad Gable was injured and the second El Grande had shown up, and we have since deduced that that is Ludwig Kaiser. We have now seen a second and a third and now a fourth El Grande Americano, if you count Chad Gable.
Sure.
So they're doing exactly what I suggested or thought they might do at the time, which is to basically kind of keep the gag going. And now that there's one Americana, I said there could be multiple Americana El Grandes Americanos come out and keep people guessing on who it is. And I think they might keep this whole gag going until it eventually comes circular logic back to Chad Gable. And they might even have his return be getting unmasked. It's one of the most interesting and I gotta admit, most sought demanded online content pieces we've done is anytime we post a Grande video, people want it, man. So we're giving the people what they want, more Grande. And here we have the fourth Grande making an appearance. The last two have both been in jumpsuits. So I guess they're hiding their physique a little bit, maybe their skin color. I don't know.
But we don't know who those two are.
We don't know. And we do know who Ludwig Kaiser is. He's in the left there in both shots, by the way.
He's the tallest El Grande.
The second El Grande is in the middle image talking to the ref. You can see him in the white mask. And then the third El Grande here in the red top jumpsuit is different than the second one, even though they both look pretty identical.
That's his twin?
Yeah, and Dragon Lee getting the brunt of the punishment here. This was all happening during a 3-on-3 match between the LWO and Dominic Mysterio and Judgment Day. So anyways, here we are. That match was unimportant. The Grande
is important. All right.
Those are your Raw notes. And actually, one final nugget, since I have a little bit of time. I want to go back to the LA Knight Seth Rollins matchup for 1 second. And obviously, Seth Rollins didn't have a match at SummerSlam. We mentioned that, but neither did LA Knight. And we were kind of surprised about that. Now, do you think that he knew that he was getting this title opportunity on Raw the basically day after SummerSlam, and that kind of makes up for not being a part of the big event ticket?
I think so. You can look at the Raw yesterday as a continuation of the SummerSlam. You
can, in a way. It's like the epilogue of a book. If SummerSlam were a book,
right,
then SmackDown on Friday was the prelude or the prequel chapter.
Absolutely.
But it wasn't chapter one. Chapter one started when SummerSlam started, and the final chapter ended on Sunday night. But I think this is your like epilogue part, and it's also setting the stage for what's next.
Absolutely. For book 2.
Yes, and you need that. You need that transitional element in storytelling.
Now,
in general, whether it's live like this or whether it's a movie or whatever.
Sure.
The question is,
did LA Knight was on the gag when it comes to Seth Rollins' injury?
That's a great question. This is a great conversation. So I will definitely oblige and get into this with you a little bit. Take a couple minutes here. Oh boy, that's a tough one. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't think he was.
Now that we see the Unreal show, it's hard for me to not see him and Seth Rollins backstage, cracking a beer together afterwards, toast like, oh, we really pulled the eyes over the wool on that one, or the wool over your eyes, I should say.
Sure.
But at the same time, I feel like this is also one of those situations where you want a less is more approach for the shock value. And I don't know if you want the entire locker room to know
Right.
the plan. You know?
I don't know. And I don't think he was. He might have suspected it,
Yeah.
but I don't think he was on with, he wasn't in the inner circle of the known.
Yeah. So that's really interesting to kind of figure out because, you know, we know there's match producers now and we've seen a little bit of a glimpse on the Netflix show about how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
You know, but also keep in mind when you watch that, they're only showing you what they want to show you.
Yeah.
This whole episode went through an approval process and like people that are executives watched it and made comments if they wanted things removed. Like, I don't know if we should show them this.
And then you have the writers, the choreographs, and all those people involved. So there's a lot. That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people. So I'm 50-50 on it, to be honest. I cannot say one way or the other. I wonder if we'll ever learn the truth like 20 years later. Like, you know, we hear Undertaker and Mick Foley talk about Hell in the Cell and what it was like working with each other. And it'll be interesting to see if Seth Rollins and LA Knight, like 20, 25 years from now, do a video where they do a breakdown of like this work and how they were both in on it from the beginning and or not but tell that story.
Yeah. Well, we just have to wait 20 years.